And welcome to another lovely episode of Getting Your Fix of TM06, okay? So in this video, it's going to be PvP, okay? I don't really talk about PvP a lot, I don't go over it, but I really enjoy it, okay? And I have my mentor in this video, our special guest star, Nigel Kendall, which is going to be introducing himself soon. So normally, if it was like a 2-week event, I would make part 1 and part 2, but obviously I'm not going to do that. I want to make just one video for Halloween. The event looks actually insane. It is insane. Honestly, Halloween events, I love Halloween events, okay? Coming up on today's show, we have a guest, a special star, a superstar. His name is TM44LAVA, and he's also known as Nigel Kendall. He's the guy. So the plan is for today is we're going to start introducing our PvP cups. We've recently had our Sinister Cup, okay? So Nige is going to go through my experience on Sinister, my videos.
I thought it'd be a really nice idea just to show off some of the strategies that we came up with and some of the strategies that he used in the cup.
So I hope you enjoy the video and enjoy. Just don't be too hard on me, by the way, okay? I get nervous.
Right, so Rav has asked me to do an analysis of his tournament performance in the most recent Sinister Cup, and just to improve, and I thought it would be a nice idea to record it so other people could look at it and be able to see, you know, what kind of strats me and him came up with when he's doing this tournament, and hopefully to try and improve that kind of stuff, because he wanted to improve and maybe other people might want to improve. So I'm Rav's housemate. My name's TM44LAVA. I'm part of the TM crew. And you're probably wondering to yourself, like, why should I listen to this guy? I'm actually the one that ended up winning this tournament, which is pretty cool. And currently number 2 in the UK, which is pretty crazy. So there's probably 2 main reasons why people clicked this video. Number 1, you might have been in the tournament, have to see how you did versus Rav, right, at a later date. But hopefully we've got more people clicking this video because they want to improve their PvP skills. So yeah, like I said, I'm just going to be looking through all his videos, sharing some of the strategies that we came up with in the scrims when we were practicing. And we're going to start with the first match, which is versus Lee, Space Cadet. Though unfortunately, Rav hasn't included the team composition part of it, and this is such a big part of Sinister. But I've looked ahead of the game and I've seen that Rav's actually gone for a double steal strategy. Really interesting strategy here, because obviously he's foregoing he's gone 2 steals and a fighter, so he hasn't gone for a ghost, which is very interesting. I'll be talking about that in a second. The first starting matchup is probably quite a bad one for Rav, because it's Bashidon versus Steelix. Now it's a bit of a weird one because technically the fast attacks is a bit of a pillow fight, right? It's not doing much damage to each other with the fast attack, but the charge attacks is really where it's interesting, because from there, right, you saw the flamethrower do a fair amount of damage to Steelix, but Steelix has the earthquake, as you can see here. Absolutely devastating for a Bastidon because it's ×4 weak to it. Really, that is the really key part of the matchup. Can you shield the earthquakes? Can you manage to get enough of the flamethrowers down? Unfortunately, he's lost there. So there you go, a bit of a weird one. Now, as Sinister is such a brutal cup, that is a huge part of the situation. He's really lost a big advantage there. And due to the switch glitch, unfortunately he didn't manage to get his power-up punch, which I know he wanted on the Steelix. Would have been very useful. But actually it's worked out okay, because now what's probably going to happen is he's got a lot of energy and he'll be able to hopefully double psychic the next thing coming in. Unless, of course, the thing coming in happens to be the absolute devastating machine, which is Haunter, and there he is. So Haunter is a really interesting pick for this cup because it just does so much damage. It hasn't got much health, but it just does so much damage, and as you can see there, those Shadow Claws just doing so much damage. Luckily for Rav, he's gone double steal, so he still has an answer to that Haunter, even though, you know, he lost his initial steal. Swapping out there was probably quite ill-advised, because he should have recognised that Lee still had a fighter in the back, and being locked in to this matchup is obviously never a good situation. So Rav's doing everything he can at this point, right? He's trying his best to come back from obviously an initial bad matchup, which is a fair play to him. He's gone for a shield bait into a crunch, which is fantastic. He's decided to shield here, which, if there's a power-up punch, and it is never a good situation. Shielding a power-up punch, obviously you never really want to be doing, for 2 reasons. 1, they get a boost and a shield from you, and 2, you feel like an idiot, and no one likes feeling like an idiot. Rav doing everything he possibly can to bring this back. Going for an earthquake when he has no shields is a fantastic situation, and he really is trying to do anything back, but shielding 2 power-up punches is obviously never a good situation to be in. And to be fair, I think if he had really taken down that Poliwrath just then, it would have been a very good situation for him. But the power-up punch doing a large amount of damage and not having enough energy to crunch this Haunter means it's basically game over, unfortunately. There's very little situations where Medi's going to be able to take out this Haunter. And there we go. He's got some energy. He's trying to get to a Psychic. He probably gives Lee a little bit of a scare here, making him think that he's got a Psychic, but of course it's just a power-up punch. This is not going to do much damage, being Ghost and Poison, and then it's GG's. So really interesting starting game, right? Rav going in with the double steal and a Medi is very interesting, because obviously Medi is a fighter and a Psychic, can take out those fighters too, especially if that fighter is a Poliwrath. Really interesting stuff coming out from there, but unfortunately it just didn't work out for him because he got hit by that earthquake. What is happening right now? I want to get off this. I hate my life. I hate my life. There we go. So we've got both teams there. Interesting teams. Real quick look at that. Hopefully, Rav's team analysis, he's obviously practiced quite a lot of team analysis here. It's a very, very balanced team Lee's got. 2 Ghost, 2 Steel, a Psychic and a Fighter. Classic. Very, very, very good stuff there. And it looks like Rav's going to go starting Ghost. Let's have a look. He starts Ghost into Cresselia. Fantastic start. Fantastic start for Rav. So obviously in this matchup, what you want to be doing is just spamming out those Ominous Winds. If you can hit a Shadow Ball, it's fantastic, because Cresselia is surprisingly tanky. And even though obviously Shadow Ball being super effective, it can tank a fair amount. So Rav's obviously just going to be spamming out the Ghost moves. Absolutely right thing to be doing in this matchup. Hopefully gets another shield with another Ominous Wind. He does. Fantastic. So he can now get up to a Shadow Ball. He might have to shield and Aura Beam, and Lee decides to swap out. So at this point, what you want to be doing here is you want to be doing what's called following the swap, right? You want to be chasing down the bad matchups as much as you possibly can. So that's what Rav just did there. He's recognised a swap there. He's seen that he swapped into a Steel, so he's gone straight into the fighting, and has made a very good call to shield that Earthquake. So it's probably, unless Lee can do some fantastic maneuvers here, it's probably game over for him, because Rav should, at this point, just chase down those bad matchups, right? Every single time Lee swaps, Rav will be swapping at the same time just to chase down those matchups. And now if you see here, it's a pretty dire situation for Lee, because Rav now has that Poliwrath with that extra health, and every part of damage that he does right now is considered to be just extra credit, right? All of this stuff is now just extra credit. Poly's already done his job. He's got rid of the Steel. He's freed up the Ghost to be super safe. But not only that, he's also now tacking on all this extra credit damage, right? Rav tried to swap out there, interestingly. I don't know whether he would have swapped to the Ghost. I think he would have gone straight for the Ghost. Yes, he would have gone for the Ghost. Okay, so that's fine. At this point, it was probably better to let Poly die, because Poly had already done his job, and you don't want to be switch locked, just in case. I mean, yeah, the last Pokemon was a Haunter, so he's going to be okay now, because he now has his Steel ready. So that's okay. But it could have been dangerous to swap in there, because you don't know what the other person has, and you don't want to be switch locked into a terrible matchup. That could really create a comeback situation there. Lee does have a Shadow Ball Haunter. Forgot about that. That could have been terrifying. That did an insane amount of damage, even to a Steelix. So actually, to be fair, Lee also did some fantastic maneuvers there, and actually managed to make the comeback. Almost made a comeback there, which is crazy. Very impressive. Okay, so just moving into the third and final game then. So Rav has decided to start Polly. Polly being one of the safest starts in the cup, and it's a really interesting point where if someone's back is against the wall, maybe it's a very tight game 3 situation where people are a little bit scared. A lot of the time you will see people start Polly, right? Because it's quite a scary situation and you want to be as safe as possible, so you want to choose your best lead. So Rav's done exactly what you would expect. You can always think about that when looking about stuff in the future, because, you know, it might be interesting. Rav decided to go for a shield bait situation here, right? Did balls on this man in a game 3 situation, and it's paid off. It's absolutely paid off. Fantastic. So from there, what he's managed to do, he's managed to save himself about 15 energy, which is pretty important when it comes to this matchup. Another huge important thing when it comes to this matchup is being able to block the earthquakes. So Rav done 2 fantastic things there, managed to do that. Fair warning, it's quite risky to go for the ice punch in this matchup. It saves you 15 energy, so it's nice if they shield it, but it's like a low risk, well, sorry, high risk, low reward kind of situation. So I wouldn't actually recommend going for that to save that 15 energy. If you're really confident they're going to shield, then it's pretty solid. So Rav decided to go for the swap, save his Polly. Polly's done the job, right? He's got rid of the thing, the steel, which is always nice. It was a little bit risky of Rav to do that swap there, because in an ideal situation, Lee would have a fighter in the back there, and by swapping into Steelix, that was actually a really, really risky situation. Obviously, Steelix has a really good matchup versus Haunter, which is why he wanted to swap into it. And if Lee had swapped in a lot earlier, he would have really been in some trouble. So that was actually a really scary swap from Rav. Personally, I would have just let Polly die, because it's much scarier being switch locked into Steelix when you know they have a fighter left, or potentially have a fighter left. Pretty scary situation. But in the no shield situation, he is definitely going to get this earthquake, so it's actually not too bad of a situation. And I'm generally going to win the matchup. Once again, a huge issue being Power Up Punch being nerfed so much, meaning that it's not doing a huge amount of damage to Steelix anymore, right? Obviously, it used to be doing a crazy amount of damage. And there you go, managed to get to his crunch as well, and actually win against what is considered to be a really bad matchup for Steelix. So that was pretty lucky. Coming in with a Haunter, right? Not a huge amount of health. I'm guessing he's going Dusclops. Oh, he's gone straight for his party rack. Doesn't really matter. It's basically GG's at this point. One thing I'd recommend for Lee to do there is that he should have, once he recognised that Rav had been switch locked into a Steelix, he should have swapped straight to his Polly and tried to tack on as much damage as possible in that situation. That would have been really good. But fair enough to him. Absolutely good stuff there. Managed to pull off a really good 2-1 comeback, right? Lost the first match, quite scary. Managed to win those 2 situations. Yeah, fair play to Rav, good stuff. Okay, so moving on to match number 2. I was going up against Neil, who is an up-and-comer in the PvP community in Leamington, and I'd probably give him the most improved PvP player in Leamington. Really, really impressive stuff from him. So what we've got here is that, obviously, generally considered the general rock, paper, scissors matchup of steel, ghost, and fighting. Rav's technically lost this first starting matchup, which obviously Sinister starting matchup being so important. Interestingly, though, a big part of being able to win this matchup, even though obviously considering the rock, paper, scissors, you actually lose it, is being able to hit a shadow ball. Really, really important part of the matchup, which Rav's just managed to do, which is really, really good. As you saw there, Drifblin's Shadow Ball can do a ton of damage. His attack stat is nothing to laugh about. Really, really high damaging stuff. So obviously, Crunch being super effective. The whole reason that this is considered to be a losing matchup is for that reason, right? And Seals being able to chunk out that kind of stuff. So Rav technically wins the matchup, loses a shield, right? He's lost shield advantage, but he's gained switch advantage, right? And in Sinister, shielded switch advantage is super, super important. Being able to stay and chase down those good matchups that you want and to keep them locked into those bad matchups. Really important stuff. So obviously here, generally, this is considered obviously a bad matchup for Haunter. Obviously, shields can always change these kind of stuff. Shields can, obviously, with the two shields, with the shield advantage that Neil has right now, or the disadvantage that Rav has, there is a possibility that he could force Rav's hand and gain switch advantage back by double shielding here. So Rav's gone for the single shield in this matchup, hoping to catch a shadow ball. Unfortunately, just a shadow punch. As you can see, Haunter does a ton of damage and builds up energy so quickly. I'm going to pause it real quick and talk about what Neil just did there. Now, this is a really, really smart maneuver. What he's done is he's built up to 2 shadow punches, right? And let them go one after the other, right? Straight away. What he's done there is hoped that Rav wasn't sure about how much Haunter had in terms of energy and would waste the shield to try and get the extra crunch. But unfortunately, what's happened is that Rav has taken the bait, he's used his shield because he wants that crunch, and then has been hit by the second shadow punch straight away. So not only has he lost his shield, he's also not been able to get to that crunch that he wanted to get. If you look here, he's pretty close, doesn't get to it, right? Absolutely phenomenal strategy coming out there. And these Shadow Claws just doing so much damage. Haunter is a ridiculous Pokemon in this card, especially Shadow Ball Haunter. Look at that, Shadow Punch is doing so much damage. At this point, as I'm sure you can imagine, it's a fairly bad situation for Rav. Technically wins this matchup, goes first fighting, but as we know, Polly with Ice Punch, yeah, goes toe-to-toe with a lot of the ghosts anyway. And with the extra shield there, it's basically over for Rav, unfortunately for him. So there we go, moving into game 2. So you can see here, Rav, this is the second match where Rav's lost the first matchup, right? Very scary stuff. Knowing that you've lost the first one is obviously terrifying, especially in the tournament. You really want to win that second, you have to win the second and third games at that point. Really scary stuff. Okay, so just having a quick look at Neil's team here, you can see he's gone very, I say very off meta. He's gone kind of off meta with this one. 2 Psychics is very interesting. 2 Confusion users, both Gallade and Claydol. Yeah, maybe he really doesn't like the Poliwrath. Okay, fair enough. He's gone 1 Fighting, 2 Ghost, and 1 Steel. It's not terrible because his only Fighting and his only Steel happens to be the best of those 2. Polly is obviously being the best Fighter in the Cup, Steel being the best Steel type in the Cup, Steelix being the best Steel type in the Cup. So actually, it seems to work quite well. It's not too bad at all, and he's got that real threat of 2 Confusion users to really scare off a lot of stuff. So really interesting team here. Okay, so kicking off into game 2. Classic Rav, back against the wall, scared. Starts with Polly. Everyone does it. Remember that if you ever go to your tournament, because people will do it to you quite a lot. Now, as said before, right, technically, looking at the rock, paper, scissors matchup, right, spread, fighters lose to Ghost. So actually, Rav technically lost this starting matchup. However, as you've just seen, because of the Ice Punch, yeah, because of the amount of shield pressure and the amount of bubble that energy Bubble gets, and has managed to not shield a honest win, I think he's going to win this matchup, right? Which is obviously a fantastic situation. Guessing another honest win. Oh, I would have shielded that. Rav's a madman. Is it going to kill? Okay, he knows things more than me. Clearly I'm wrong. Clearly he should have won the tournament. Oh my god, this guy. So risky. So risky or so calculated, I don't know. I really don't know what goes through his brain, but that was insane. Look at that health. Fantastic situation, because now he's managed to get an extra Ice Punch off, right? That extra credit that I've been talking about before. Really important situation. So, and managed to get a shield. Oh my gosh. So obviously Neil at this point probably thought it was a dynamic punch or some sort of fighter move. Didn't quite count the bubbles, didn't know how much energy he had. But crazy situation, and is now swapped out. Unfortunate situation. Oh my gosh, it's all going downhill. It's all going downhill for Neil. So obviously the situation there, Steelix versus Steelix, is a bit of a weird one. Personally, I think I probably would have rather stayed in there rather than swapping out to Polly, because especially with the shield disadvantage, this is bad stuff. And now that Steelix really doesn't have much answer to him right now, so there's not much Neil can do in this situation. Rav decides to go for a shield unless he happens to power up punch the shield, and he doesn't. There's not a huge amount going to happen here. Just going for those shadow punches here. Obviously, Polly does really well in the fighting matchup, and Polly is a huge reason why people are starting to really use a lot more psychics, and more importantly, a lot more medis, right? So Medichan, huge deal in this cup is the fact that he can beat the steals and also beat Polly, which is such an interesting thing. I'm gonna guess Rav lets this guy go. Has a ton of energy built up on his Steelix already, and you have a Steelix versus Steelix match, both with one shield. Now, obviously, Steelix versus Steelix match is super scary because, and here's Rav concentrate straight away. You want to hit the earthquakes. The earthquake is the way of really doing damage, and he's managed to hit it. Right, absolutely right. And he's managed to go straight for a crunch here, which is obviously ideal situation because now Neil has to shield the crunch, which is good. Less energy wasted. And here is the scary part, right? Pure 50-50 here. Neil's overcharged. It could have been an earthquake. It could be a crunch. He's managed to shield the earthquake. Absolutely right. Fantastic situation. So from there, obviously it's GG's for Neil. So you can see right there, right? He could have crunched first and then earthquake second, which means Neil would have won with like 1 HP left. But no, Rav managed to call right. He managed to guess the right way around and takes the second game. Going into the third game. Scary stuff. Obviously everyone's scared. Going to third game in a tournament. Both go Steelix style. Interesting. Once again, I'd imagine... Well, Steelix is a phenomenal lead anyway, right? Mainly because he counters against ghosts, and people love to lead ghosts, so it's a nice lead to have. The other interesting thing about it is having ghost as like a... I want to say safe swap, but not quite a safe swap. Like a good something to swap into in case they happen to start fighting is always nice, because then you can lock in their steel type and really start snowballing with your fighting type. Oh my gosh, these guys are so crazy. I don't understand how they know. So, huge situation there, as I'm sure you can imagine. Being able to shield, bait a shield, and then being able to shield an earthquake. God. Really going all in. I think they both really want this switch advantage in the beginning. I would have shielded. Oh my gosh, and there it is. The switch advantage has officially been lost. So, scary situation. Obviously, a big part of it is being able to get that switch advantage. Fantastic swap going on. If you had a Medi, that would have been an even better swap. Because it's dynamic punch in the Poliwrath versus Poliwrath matchup still does a absolute ton of damage. And actually, that one dynamic punch has potentially won him this game. Because he's technically lost switch advantage here, right? Well, he should have if Neil didn't quite swap out. If he would have stayed in Steelix. And we've got a situation now where Rav now has the shield advantage, right? If you look there, they both have 2 Pokemon. Rav's technically locked in with his Dusclops, but being locked in with the Dusclops is never a terrible situation, because obviously you've got a Fire Punch there, Steelix. And you can see here, Rav has managed to really bring that whole situation back. A really terrible start by not blocking that earthquake, and now he's in a very good position, using some real solid play, and actually won the switch advantage back, has a Dusclops and something else. And he brings out the terrifying Haunter, but this should be game over. One thing that we know about Haunter is he has absolutely no health, so this Shadow Punch should do a ton of damage, and there it is. Oh my gosh, crazy, crazy games there. GG's to those two. Okay, moving on to the main event, the Grand Finals. The TM versus TM Grand Finals situation.
Richard, why are you angry today?
Yeah, there was no
Good luck, guys.
debating this time. It was very fixed, very firm. That's it.
Look at that absolute mess
It
of a
was the wrong
match.
choice, but that was the choice that he went with, and here we are.
It's getting late. There were some more matches, but I'm getting tired. I don't want to have to keep talking. My voice is going a little bit. So we're just going to go for this. Rav reads me like a book and realizes that I love starting Steelix. I love starting Steelix because I always think that Rav starts Drifblim. And he started Drifblim a lot in our practices. The genius. I think he did it on purpose so he could start Medi in tournament and win the starting matchup. As I said before though, really, really nice thing is to be able to change into a ghost type, right? A big reason for that is because ideally it forces them to swap into a steel and you can start snowballing with your fighter, right? That's a really nice strategy that I've been looking at and using. Unfortunately, Rav didn't decide to stay there and go for his Dustclops, but I do know that Rav hates shielding. Rav hates shielding. He doesn't like shielding. He doesn't like getting shield baited. So I went straight for a Shadow Ball there and took out obviously a large chunk of damage there. At this point, extra credit for Marowak, right? He's done his job. He's taken out a Dustclops. He's made sure that my fighter is now super safe because I've got rid of his Dustclops, which is fantastic. And I'm happy to let him die. I'm happy to let him die at this point. So I've lost shield advantage, but I'm happy the fact that I now know for certain that he doesn't have a ghost and my Medi can start, you know, doing some stuff. Rav the genius though reads me. I'm sure it's a psychic, so I shield a power-up punch and look like a bit of an idiot. Do it right back to him though. That's right, Rav. You can shield one of my power-up punches. How does it feel? I obviously have no shields here, so he's going to mash straight into the Psychic. Absolutely right thing to do here. Psychic doing a ton of damage, getting a slight buff recently, a little bit less energy to get to it. Has a potential chance of getting rid of some stuff, getting rid of some defense, which is really useful. Ravs goes for the shield here. Absolutely right call. Good stuff for him. I've gone for a power-up punch, but that was just to do a little bit extra damage with the counters. At this point, I knew there was not a huge amount I could do. I was almost 100% sure he would shield, so I thought I'd go for double power-up punch instead of going for a psychic, but I didn't really do a huge amount of damage. This part is very interesting. I want you to pay close attention to this. Obviously, he knows I've got Steelix coming in. He knew it. He's sort of right at the beginning. He starts power-up punching. I know from previous situations that he doesn't have dynamic punch, he just has power-up punch. So I start farming a little bit, right? You can see here, I start counting. My plan at this point was to get to 2 crunches, right? And I'm counting him, and I'm counting him, and I'm getting scared that he's got to a crunch, and I'm counting him, and I press it right at this point, just so he can't get to his own crunch. And I now have 2 crunches, so as I'm sure you can imagine, I am mashing crunch. Mashing it. Unfortunately, Rav has charged me priority and comes straight in with a power-up punch and says shut up to my counting and says shut up to my strategies and wins the first game. I've kind of given away who wins the whole thing right at the start of the video, but we'll keep it going. We'll keep it going. Keep the suspense in. And here he goes. He goes in with the classic now. Now he's scared me off starting Steelix. He's like, right, I can now go in with the Drifblim. Ravs is secretly a genius, I'm telling you. He's secretly a genius. He just reads people's minds, unfortunately. So I decide I can't start Steelix again because I'm too scared, so I end up starting my Alolan Marowak instead. Ghost on Ghost, right? Technically, Ghost on Ghost. Oh, Rabbit's lagged a little bit. He didn't tell me about that. Oh, I feel a bit bad now. Anyway, Ghost on Ghost, Drifblim wins, right? Technically, because he's got that ominous wind. But I know that Rav hates being shield baited. Who does? Who does, right? No one likes being shield baited. So I go straight for the Shadow Ball. This is a very, very interesting situation from Rav here. He's now locked himself in with a Steelix. In hindsight, what I should have done here is now I've realised that he's locked himself in, gone straight into my Medi, right? Instead I go for a Bone Club, I don't really know why. Marowak's kind of going to town a little bit here, he's doing some solid work. And force out a shield as well, my gosh. Marowak, what a legend. I think, if I remember correctly, I remember thinking to myself right here, right, Marowak, you've done your job, right? Got rid of a ghost, happy days. I've seen his whole team, which is really useful, and I know that Medi counts as his whole team now, because I've seen the fact that he's a Poliwrath and a Steelix. So I think, at this point, if I play perfectly, there is almost nothing Rav can do in this situation, unfortunately for him. You can see there that there's a little bit of lag going on. We're actually at this point underground in a new venue in Temperance. Shout out to Temperance. I'm sure we'll put the video of this at the back here. And Rav hates being shield baited, and he gets a defense for. At this point, I mean that's just insult to injury. It doesn't really matter at that point. It was GG's. I had another Pokemon in the back. It was basically over. So second game, bit of a whitewash, really. Not unfortunately for Rav, but you know, he just hates being shield baited, and I knew it. I knew it going in. Third game, the most intense game of my life, I'm pretty sure. Very intense situation going on. From what I remember, we both start Medi, and Rav once again reads me like a book within the Medi vs Medi matchup. Obviously, this is a very scary matchup, right? Because no one wants to shield a power-up punch. It sucks because, you know, you lose a shield, and it also sucks because they get an increase. And the third reason it sucks is you feel like an idiot. Rav knows this, so doesn't want to shield, so goes straight for a Psychic. In my head, I'm thinking he's going to do the same. So I'm thinking, right, he's going to go for a Psychic, I'm going to shield it. I look like an idiot, right? I've accidentally shielded it. Absolute muggins over here. So, and this is the really interesting part. Because he's power-up punched and now gone for a Psychic, I don't shield it and take way more damage than I did to him. So here's the bad situation, right? Well, good situation for Rav, obviously we're looking at it from Rav's perspective. He's now won the Medi vs Medi matchup with shield advantage and switch advantage. So I've already got to pull up something out the bag for this one. So we both lost our fighters, and we now know that both of us have Steel and Ghost. This is the ideal situation for Rav, because again, according to the rock, paper, scissors, obviously we know that Steel beats Ghost. Luckily for me, I actually have a Fire Spin Marowak, and there's a couple situations where Fire Spin Marowak actually beats Steelix. The main situations are when you get to hit a Shadow Ball, and when you manage to block all the Earthquakes, right? If you get hit, if Rav hits an Earthquake right now, it's GG's. If he gets hit by a Shadow Ball, it's not GG's, but it's a much better situation for me to be in. And he's once again read me absolutely right. The only saving grace for me is the fact that these Fire Spins are just doing so much damage, right? Obviously being super effective against Steelix, and that is the whole reason why it's considered not to be that bad of a matchup. So interestingly here, Rav's gone straight in for the Dusclops matchup. Now this is an interesting one as well, because of the Fire Punch. Dusclops technically wins the one shield matchup, right? And ironically, that's the exact matchup that we're in right now. We only have one shield each. So we've got here, as you can see, he plays it absolutely right, realizes that I have to shield at this situation. So goes for a Shadow Punch, saves himself about, I think, like 5 or 10 energy or something. High risk, high reward kind of strategy. There, I managed to count, very luckily, I don't know how I managed to keep track of that, the Shadow Punch, but I realised that he was very, very close to a Fire Punch and just got rid of it. And at this point, it is just a race for the crunch. Ravs get to a crunch, I managed to get to it first. Just like the first game, I lost because of the charge move priority. Final game, Rav loses because of the charge move priority. And absolutely great games there. All round, the whole tournament, fantastic games from everyone. So that is the whole tournament. Sorry for all the matches that I managed to leave out. Unfortunately, this takes a lot more energy than I expected, so my brain is hurting a little bit. But yeah, absolutely fantastic tournament. Thank you so much to obviously all the organisers. We've got Steve, the main leader of our PvP community, an absolute legend. We've also got a few people who managed to organise the fantastic venue that I'm sure you'll see at the end of the video, right? After this, I'll show you my big pop-off when I managed to win and unfortunately managed to beat the star of the show, Rav.
Oh, he's done it!
Oh no!
That was so close.
Oh my days!
That was a good match. Well played.
Go!
So close.
Oh god. That was
Oh, he's done it!
Oh no!
That was so close.
Oh my days!
That was a good match. Well played.
That was so intense. No more PvP.
Is it an Oddish though?
It's kind of, no, it's
Grapes for life.
It wasn't how it was supposed to be. It just
It's a radish.
It's not ready.
It's a bloody radish.
So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let us know. It was emotional. We were both shaking at the end. Open our Pokemon cards. We hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and we'll be doing more of these. Our next cup is the Ferocious Cup. When was the date of the Ferocious Cup?
17th, 18th, Monday.
It's a Monday.
In Temperance.
In Temperance,
Same place.
Leamington.
Yeah.
Monday. So yep, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.
GG's, Rav. Come here.
It's been so emotional.